Well, the name Bismarck still echoes through naval history. It was the pride of Germany's navy in the Second World War. It was a masterpiece of engineering, a symbol of national ambition cast in thousands of tons of steel. This ship was designed to be a giant, faster and more powerful than almost anything afloat. Its story is a short but thunderous saga: triumph, tragedy, relentless pursuit across the cold, unforgiving waters of the North Atlantic. A tale of shock, a story of a chase that gripped the world, a testament to the brutal realities of war at sea. A journey that begins with a grand launch in Hamburg and ends in a fiery last stand, hundreds of miles from safety. This is the full story of the battleship Bismarck. We will follow its journey from the very beginning, from the drawing board to the shipyard where it took shape. We will journey with it as it breaks out into the open ocean, a predator unleashed upon Britain's vital arteries. We will witness its greatest victory, a single devastating blow that shook the British Empire to its core. We will feel the shock and the fury that followed. An order from the highest level of government set in motion one of the greatest sea hunts in history. This is a story of courage. Bismarck was born from the ambitions of a resurgent Germany. The Treaty of Versailles, signed after the First World War, had placed strict limits on the size of the German navy. But by the 1930s, those restrictions were being cast aside. Germany needed a new fleet, one that could challenge the dominance of the British Royal Navy. The plan was not to match the British ship for ship, but to build vessels so powerful that they could outfight any single opponent they might encounter on the open ocean. These ships would be commerce raiders, designed to break into the Atlantic and sever the supply lines that were Britain's lifeline. Bismarck was the ultimate expression of this strategy. Built at the Blohm & Voss shipyard in Hamburg, Bismarck was a true giant of its time. When fully loaded for war, it displaced over 50,000 tons. It stretched almost 251 meters in length, a colossal floating fortress of steel. In May 1941, the time came for Bismarck to fulfill its purpose. The mission, codenamed Operation Rheinübung, was both simple and audacious. Bismarck Prinz Eugen. Breakout from the Baltic Sea slip past British patrols, enter the North Atlantic hunting grounds. Wreak havoc on convoys bringing supplies from North America to Britain. Admiral Gunther Lütjens, in command aboard Bismarck. Captain Ernst Lindemann, leading a crew of over 2,000, sailed under a cloak of secrecy, moving north along Norway's coast, hid in the fjords attempting to refuel, waiting for bad weather. Norwegian resistance spotted the ships and sent a warning to London. The reports from Suffolk and Norfolk reached a powerful British force steaming to intercept the Germans. This force was led by Vice Admiral Lancelot Holland, flying his flag on the battlecruiser HMS Hood. For over 20 years, Hood had been the pride of the Royal Navy. It was the largest warship in the world for 2 decades, a symbol of British sea power known and loved by the public. Fast and heavily armed, it looked invincible, but it had a critical weakness. Its deck armor was dangerously thin, a flaw from its First World War-era design that had never been fully rectified. Accompanying Hood was the brand-new battleship HMS Prince of Wales, so new that civilian contractors were still aboard, working to fix issues with its main guns. In the early morning hours of May 24, 1941, the two forces met. The sky was gray and the sea was choppy. At a range of about 14 miles, the giants opened fire. The news of Hood's destruction reached London like a physical blow. In the underground war rooms beneath Whitehall, Prime Minister Winston Churchill was given the grim report. The loss of the nation's most famous warship and more than 1,400 of its sailors was a devastating moment, but shock quickly turned to cold fury and iron resolve. The Bismarck was now more than just an enemy warship. It was the symbol of a national humiliation. It had inflicted a wound that had to be avenged. The ship could not be allowed to escape. Churchill issued a simple, chilling order that electrified the entire Admiralty: sink the Bismarck. The directive at any cost was taken literally. The Royal Navy began to mobilize on a scale not seen since the great fleet battles of the First World War. Section 6. A desperate race to France. Aboard the Bismarck, the victory over Hood was tempered by a serious problem. During the brief engagement, a shell from Prince of Wales struck Bismarck's bow. The hit had not compromised the ship's armor, nor its fighting ability, but it had pierced forward fuel tanks, causing a steady leak of precious oil. Oil slicks trailed from the bow. It had contaminated some remaining fuel with seawater, and it flooded a forward compartment, causing the bow to dip. That damage reduced Bismarck's top speed, and more importantly, its maximum range. The original mission to raid Atlantic convoys was no longer feasible. Admiral Lutjens faced a difficult choice. He decided to detach the undamaged Prince Eugène to continue raiding, while Bismarck would make for the safety of a French port, the port of Saint-Nazaire, its massive dry dock. If Bismarck could reach German air cover from France. Section 7. The Stringbags and the Fateful Torpedo. For more than a day, the Bismarck was lost. A wave of anxiety swept through the British Admiralty. The most powerful battleship in the world was loose in the Atlantic, its location unknown. The hunting fleet, running low on fuel, began to scatter in a desperate search pattern based on flawed intelligence. It seemed that Bismarck might actually escape. The break came on the morning of May 26th. A Coastal Command Catalina flying boat, on patrol far out over the ocean, spotted the telltale oil slick and then the ship itself. The message was radioed back: "Have sighted a battleship, the hunt was back on." The nearest force capable of intercepting Bismarck was Admiral Somerville's Force H, racing up from Gibraltar. The aircraft carrier HMS Ark Royal was now Britain's last best hope. If its planes could not slow Bismarck down, the German ship would reach the safety of French air cover within a day. Section 8. The Final Battle. The jammed rudder sealed Bismarck's fate. Throughout the night, the ship was a helpless target, turning in circles, being pushed slowly northwest by the gale, directly back toward the approaching British fleet. The crew worked frantically to free the rudders, with divers even attempting to go over the side in the raging seas, but it was hopeless. The damage was too severe. During the night, a flotilla of British destroyers closed in, led by the heroic Captain Philip Vian. They launched daring torpedo attacks in the mountainous waves, harassing the crippled giant, scoring some hits, and ensuring that the German crew had no rest. The morning of May 27, 1941, dawned gray and stormy. The final act of the drama was about to begin. Section 9. The Legacy in the Deep. The sinking of the Bismarck brought the epic chase to a close. The sea, the stage for this violent drama, now became a grave. Of the more than 2,200 men who served on the Bismarck, only 115 were rescued. The rescue was cut short by a U-boat alarm. HMS Dorsetshire, HMS Maury, hundreds remained in the water. It was a final tragic chapter to a brutal engagement. The loss of life on both sides was immense. The sinking of the Hood, the legend endures, a solemn reminder of skill, bravery, and sacrifice.